out and you shoot 4 times.
Yeah, the gun jammed.
Oh, the gun jammed.
Yeah. Bro did a song with Lil Tim. Hey, y'all, shut y'all ain't gonna do stuff, man.
Welcome back to Buzz Buster. I'm glad you're here. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss daily videos. That's Tim King Vaughn's alleged shooter wilding online and calling out every O-Block member like he's begging for a showdown. After Chief Keef linked up with NBA YoungBoy, the block took a heavy hit. They lost one of their own. And now, the man accused of pulling the trigger is out here taunting, straight to camera, like he's untouchable. What did O-Block do about it? Nothing. Total silence. That quiet had the whole internet buzzing with questions. People started wondering if Tim just played himself or if something bigger was going down behind the scenes. It all started when Sosa decided to move with the other side, and that decision flipped everything upside down. The block was in full meltdown mode. Nobody knew who to trust anymore. February 13th, 2026 looked like a regular day in the rap game.
Lul Tim responded to people being mad at Chief Keef and NBA YoungBoy just announcing a new collab dropping soon. This is something to talk about.
Fans were scrolling, arguing about their top 5 rappers, same as always. But out of nowhere, things changed fast. A new track dropped, and it shook the culture like an earthquake. The song Rooms, produced by Mike Will Made It, came out of left field, and the feature lineup had everybody's jaw on the floor. NBA YoungBoy and Chief Keef on the same track? Nobody saw that coming. Then the studio footage hit. The two of them chilling, laughing, vibing like they'd been friends for years. The internet lost its mind. Blogs were racing to post updates, fans were debating non-stop, and everyone who knew the history could feel the weight behind it. This wasn't just another collab, it was years of tension, loyalty flips, and unfinished business coming back loud and clear. Seeing Chief Keef and NBA YoungBoy side by side didn't feel like just another collab, it looked personal. To a lot of people, it screamed betrayal. The block didn't take it lightly, and honestly, you can't blame them. To understand why everyone reacted so strong, you gotta know who's in the picture, because the context changes everything. Chief Keef, real name Keith Pharaoh Cozart, born August 15, 1995, isn't just another rapper. He's one of the main architects of drill music. He came up in the Parkway Garden homes on Chicago's South Side, the same complex later known as O-Block after O.D. Perry's death in 2011. That place wasn't just home, it became a symbol, a movement, a name people carried with pride. Keef started early, like 5 years old early, spitting rhymes on his mom's karaoke machine. What began as a kid just having fun turned into something massive. By 2011, he was a teen on house arrest for a gun charge, posting raw, gritty freestyles on YouTube, and those clips lit up the internet. They weren't just videos, they were a cultural spark. From those shaky uploads came a whole sound, dark beats, heavy 808s, pain-soaked melodies, and stories that painted Chicago life with no filter. By 2012, Chief Keef wasn't just buzzing, he was dominating. His mixtape Back from the Dead and the track I Don't Like had the streets on fire. Then Kanye West jumped on the remix with Pusha T, Jadakiss, and Big Sean. That move turned a local anthem into a worldwide hit. The track climbed the Billboard Hot 100, and suddenly, Keef had a multi-million-dollar deal with Interscope and his own label, Glory Boy Entertainment. His debut album, Finally Rich, featured big names like 50 Cent and Wiz Khalifa. And when Love Sosa dropped, it went multi-platinum. That song didn't just chart, it solidified Keef's legacy in drill. What people often forget is that through all that fame and chaos, he was still just a teenager, trying to survive the same real-world pressure he was rapping about. Keef's team eventually made a big move.
To see why people had a saying that the best thing Chief Keef could have done was distance himself from O-Block and get out of Chicago.
They pulled him out of Chicago completely. Once he started blowing up, the people around him knew the city energy was getting too dangerous. He left the neighborhood behind and moved into a quiet suburban spot in Northfield. That switch changed everything. his lifestyle, his circle, and his whole direction in the game. From that moment on, he barely looked back at the block that raised him. Now, on the flip side of this explosive collab sits NBA Youngboy, real name Kentrell Deshaun Gaulden, bred and bed in Baton Rouge. He's one of the most streamed rappers in the entire world, no exaggeration. Normally, a track bringing together two stars this massive would be a total win for hip-hop, pure culture-shifting energy. But this one? Nah, this one came with fire built in. It wasn't just a song, it was a ticking bomb waiting to go off. See, NBA's been caught in a long, ugly feud with Lil Durk and OTF, and that beef runs deep. We're talking years of tension, sneak disses, direct shots, and real-life connections to street drama that made the whole thing way too real. These weren't just lyrics, this was pain turned into tracks. NBA even dissed the late King Von in multiple songs, which only made the divide sharper and the drama louder. And King Von wasn't just anybody, he was O-Block royalty. After Chief Keef left, he became the face, the soul, the one holding down that legacy. So when news broke that someone from O-Block's own roots was dropping music with NBA Youngboy, the same man considered an op, it felt like the ultimate betrayal. In their eyes, this wasn't rap politics, this was crossing the line.
That clip everyone's seen floating online? Yeah, that's Lil Tim himself, the man accused of shooting King Von, casually recounting the night that changed everything. We'll get deeper into that later, but understand this. Chief Keef working with NBA Youngboy hit harder than any diss could. It was like the past and the present colliding in real time, and fans could feel the tension through the screen. When Rooms dropped, the internet went nuclear. In just 4 days, it racked up 1.3 million views on YouTube, blew up TikTok with over 1.2 million plays, and stacked 304,000 first-day streams on Spotify. Mike Will made it cooked up the beat himself as part of his upcoming album.
Loyalty though, loyalty for me is strong though. It's like loyalty to me is for everybody that is fucking with it. So.
R3 set to drop March 20th, 2026, and it already feels like the project might shake the whole rap scene again. The production on Rooms was straight fire, pure heat from start to finish. Youngboy came in heavy on the hook, using that wild, charged-up auto-tune energy only he can pull off. Then Sosa slid in with a long, icy verse about survival, stacking money and never folding under pressure. Pure vintage Chief Keef energy. But the block? They weren't vibing with it at all. O-Block and OTF affiliates instantly labeled the collab Snake Life, saying Sosa flipped sides and sold out his own people just to get a check and a little studio time. One affiliate even posted online that Keef done gone against his own, claiming O-Block would stay strong and shine without him. Others pushed it further, saying Keef was banned from ever stepping foot back on the block again. Sounds wild, right? Especially since he hasn't been back in years anyway. But to them, it wasn't about geography, it was about loyalty. That move felt like betrayal, like Sosa had disrespected King Von's memory by teaming up with the very camp that dissed him after his death. To O-Block, it didn't look like music, it looked like a message. Since that tragic night in 2020, the tension never cooled off. The disses, the taunts, the subliminals, all that energy was still in the air. So when Rooms dropped, it hit the streets like a straight-up slap in the face. And that's where things turned from music to something much deeper. Because under all the bars, hooks, and beats, this was about something way more serious. Loyalty. Who's really solid? Who switched sides? Who stayed true when things got dark? That's the real heart of this mess. This wasn't just a hit single gone wrong. Nah, this was a decade's worth of pain, resentment, and unhealed wounds bubbling up again in public. We're talking broken trust, lost friendships, money drama, and people who felt like the man who once put their name on the map packed his bags, took the fame, and never looked back. To really understand why O-Block felt so betrayed when Rooms hit the net, you gotta rewind way back to when things between Sosa and the block first started to crumble. That fallout didn't start overnight. It built up slowly over years through street beefs, disagreements, and blood spilled that never got closure. By the time Rooms dropped, those old wounds weren't healed. They were just covered up,
waiting for a moment like this to rip open again. Let's be real. The tension between Chief Keef and O-Block didn't start with rooms. It didn't even begin with NBA YoungBoy. This beef been simmering for years. Old smoke that finally caught fire again. And this time, the whole world got to watch it burn. Nothing about this started overnight. It goes way back to when Sosa first started stacking serious paper and moving different once fame hit. See, back in those early drill days, one of Sosa's closest homies, someone who was supposed to be his brother for life, started feeling that distance. That homie was Lil Durk. Dirk Banks, born in 1992, came up out of Inglewood's 300 block, also known as Lamron, just around the corner from O-Block on the south side of Chicago.
The body.
I get shot in my right hip bone and I get shot on my ass. It go in and out though.
Both Dirk and Keef were repping BD, the Black Disciples, and they linked through mutual friends when they were still young, wild, and grinding for a way out. Back then, they were side by side, ducking the same chaos, dodging the same shots, and sharing the same dream to make it big. Dirk even said himself that Keef put Chicago on the map during the early drill explosion. For a moment, it looked like nothing could stop them. Two young kings from the same trenches ready to take over hip-hop together. But by 2013, everything flipped upside down. Word on the streets was that Dirt got hit with a gun charge and needed help, around $10K for bail. People expected Keef to step up, no hesitation, but allegedly he didn't. And folks say that wasn't even the first time. Another O-Block member, T-Roy, known on the block as Trey 5, reportedly needed about $25,000 for bond. And again, Keef didn't come through. That's when the whispers turned into full-blown talk. The ones still on the block, still risking their lives daily, started feeling like abandoned, like the man who they helped rise up had turned his back once he made it out. To them, it wasn't about money, it was about loyalty. Because in that world, loyalty is the one thing you never play with. And when they saw Sosa living in mansions while the block struggled to stay free, it cut deep. To O-Block, that was betrayal, plain and simple. And from that moment, things were never the same again. Then things got even uglier. The streets were buzzing after a wild situation went down involving Boss Top, a known O-Block member, who allegedly ran up in Keef's crib and hit him a lick on him. And to make matters worse, reports started circling that King Von himself took 2 pipes straight from Keef, just grabbed him and dipped. After that, Sosa was done. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually, he was over it all. No more O-Block features, no more trying to hold things together with people who kept crossing him. From that point on, the bond that once looked unbreakable was completely shattered.
Keef wasn't just leaving the block physically, he was cutting himself off from it entirely. His exit from the streets didn't happen in one night either. It came in waves, each one pulling him further from the only life he'd ever known. The first big move happened when he was just 16. His team literally dragged him out of Chicago for his own safety and dropped him in a mansion way out in the suburbs. They saw the danger coming and knew if he stayed, it could all end before his career even really began. Then came 2014, and tragedy struck hard. Keef's cousin, Blood Money, was killed, and that loss hit him deep.
It's the second time I done got shot.
Are you more calm about it this time since you've gone through it before?
Yeah, cause like the first time I got shot, I didn't even have a panic attack.
He later said that losing Blood made him realize he had to grow up and start thinking long-term, start picturing a life beyond the constant gun smoke, chaos, and pain that surrounded him every day. That moment cracked something inside him, making him see that staying in the same cycle would only lead to more heartbreak. By 2015, the final straw broke everything. One day, nearly 20 cops swarmed Keef, assault rifles drawn, all because of a popped motorcycle tire. Imagine that, ache is in your face over something that small. That was the moment Sosa said, bet, and made his move for good. He packed up everyone close to him and left Chicago behind, heading straight for Los Angeles. From then on, the Windy City was part of his story, but not part of his future. When Chief Keef made that move to Los Angeles, he later called it a game changer. He said the peace and quiet out there was like hitting the reset button on both his music and his mindset. According to him, it was the best decision he ever made. And honestly, looking at how things turned out, it's hard to disagree. Out in LA, Sosa rebuilt everything from the ground up. He became a father to 9 kids, dropped music independently, and started living completely on his own terms. When Interscope cut ties with him back in 2014, he didn't fold, not even close. He switched gears entirely, finding new ways to express himself. During rehab, he got into art collecting, something that gave him peace away from all the chaos. From there, he moved differently, smarter, calmer, and focused on longevity instead of drama. Then, in 2022, he leveled up again by launching his own label, 43B, through BMG and RBC. By 2024, he dropped Almighty So 2, a project that proved how far he'd come. No label politics, no street pressure, just pure creativity, focus, and evolution. Through all that growth, one thing never changed. Sosa never went back. He hasn't set foot in Chicago in years, not for shows, not for family, not for anything. Between old beefs, legal heat, and serious safety risks, he knew going back could be a setup for disaster. But to the people still on the block, the ones who never left, who kept losing friends and catching cases, that silence didn't look like growth, it looked like abandonment. They felt like Sosa made it out, locked the door behind him, and left them standing in the same storm he once escaped. That bitterness kept building, year after year, quiet but heavy, like a pressure cooker waiting to burst. And when rooms finally dropped, all that pent-up tension exploded. But that wasn't even the real fire. The real turning point came years earlier, on November 6th, 2020, right outside the Monaco Hookah Lounge in Atlanta, Georgia. What went down that night changed everything. Every single person tied to this story, their lives split in two in that parking lot. King Von, O-Block's golden child, the one who carried the torch after Sosa left, was at the center of it all. Signed to Lil Durk's OTF, Von wasn't just another rapper chasing fame. He was the voice of the block, the pride, the storyteller, the one who turned the pain of the streets into something powerful. That night in Atlanta would mark the moment everything between these camps, the music, the loyalty, the love, would never be the same again.
Man, bro, did a song with Lul Tim. Hey, y'all, shut y'all shit. They ain't gonna do shit ass niggas up, man.
King Von's debut album, Welcome to O-Block, hit different. It told their story like nobody else ever could. Every track was raw, emotional, and brutally real, straight from the heart of the South Side. To everyone back home, Von was living proof that O-Block could still produce greatness even after Chief Keef moved on. He was their voice, their pride, the one giving them hope again. But all that hope vanished in one violent and heartbreaking night outside the Monaco Hookah Lounge in Atlanta, Georgia. Surveillance footage captured everything. You could see Von walking straight up on Quando Rondo's crew, heading right for Rondo's car. Words started flying, tension rising fast. Then Von threw a punch through the window. In seconds, the whole parking lot exploded into chaos. That's when Rondo's right-hand man, Timothy Leaks, better known as Lil Tim, pulled his weapon and fired. Von was hit multiple times, chest and stomach, and from there, it all spiraled out of control. Screams, gunfire, pure confusion everywhere. Off-duty cops nearby jumped in and started shooting too, adding even more madness to the scene. When the smoke finally cleared, 6 people had been shot, and 3 lives were gone for good. King Von, just 26 years old. Mark Blakely, 34, and another individual whose name never even left the local reports. The scene was pure chaos. Sirens wailing, lights flashing, people crying out for help. Von's team tried desperately to rush him to the hospital, but it was too late. The man who would become the heartbeat of O-Block, the one who carried its story, its pain, its pride, was gone. Meanwhile, Lil Tim caught bullets too, one in the hip, another in the backside. And the next morning, still laid up in a hospital bed, he was hit with a felony murder charge. Imagine that, 22 years old, shot and already facing life behind bars. Months later, in March 2021, he somehow posted a $100,000 bond. But that wasn't freedom, that was just waiting for the storm to hit. For more than 2 years, Lil Tim lived under that cloud. Every headline, every rumor, every tweet hanging over him. The streets were locked in, waiting on justice. O-Block was boiling with anger, feeling like Von's death had become something way bigger than music. It was personal. Then came August 2023, the twist no one saw coming. Fulton County prosecutors dropped every single charge before the case could even reach a grand jury. Just like that, the entire case vanished into thin air. To O-Block, It felt like justice had been ripped away, like the man who took their brother's life had just walked free. The reason? Georgia's Stand Your Ground law. That's what saved Lil Tim. The surveillance footage told the story clearly. King Von threw the first punch, setting off the fight that turned deadly. To the courts, that meant self-defense, but to the block, it meant pain, betrayal, and a loss that would never heal. The streets didn't care about legal terms. To them, Von's death wasn't a case. It was a wound that reopened every time his name got mentioned. From a legal angle, the state made its ruling clear. Timothy Leaks, aka Lil Tim, acted in defense of his friend. Prosecutors went over every second of the footage, reviewed all the statements, and officially labeled the case as self-defense. Tim's lawyer, Noah Pine, didn't leave room for confusion. He said it plain as day. The case against Mr. Leaks was dismissed before it ever even reached indictment. Just like that, boom, case closed. No trial, no conviction, no time served, nothing. But for O-Block, that decision felt like a gut punch straight to the soul.
Partner was there. Like I got loyalty for him. I got loyalty for my other partner. Like that's just how I am.
The man who took their brother's life walked away free. No prison, no accountability, just freedom. And it didn't stop there. Instead of laying low, Tim went public. He started dropping diss tracks, posting wild videos, and linking up with internet agitators like Charleston White, who went on camera and said straight up that Von was a demon while praising Tim for what he did. That right there, that was like pouring gasoline on a wound that never healed. Month after month, clip after clip, O-Block felt the disrespect grow heavier and the tension just kept rising. Then, 3 days after Rooms dropped, Tim made his boldest move yet, the one that guaranteed the block would snap. On February 16, 2026, DJ Academics posted a clip on Instagram that shattered the internet before it even hit the 30-second mark. The video showed Lil Tim himself, the same man the feds couldn't touch, staring straight into the camera, calling out O-Block and OTF directly. No code words, no subliminals, no metaphors, just raw, unfiltered disrespect. Tim told them their grief meant nothing, their anger was fake, and that all that online talk didn't scare nobody. In street culture, in any hood across America, those are straight-up fighting words. And Tim, he knew exactly what he was doing. He looked dead into the lens and said, "They ain't gonna do nothing. Get up, man." The tone, ice cold. The delivery, mocking, like he was daring them to move. And just when it seemed like he couldn't push it any further, he dropped 3 words that hit harder than any diss track ever could. Get some money. Now at first, that might sound like a regular flex, like he was just brushing them off with a brag. But anyone who really knows the culture caught the message instantly. That wasn't random talk, it was a calculated shot. A direct hit aimed right at O-Block and OTF's biggest weak spot at that exact moment. Because behind those 3 words was a message only the streets could decode. Tim wasn't just trolling, he was calling him out, pointing straight at the real situation nobody wanted to speak on, the ongoing indictments that had already shaken their entire circle. Those words weren't about money, they were about power, freedom, and the pain of knowing the block was still under pressure while he was out walking free. That's what made it sting even more. This wasn't just beef anymore, it was personal warfare played out in front of millions. By that time, Lil Durk, the head of OTF, and the man who became O-Block's backbone after Chief Keef left, was locked up in federal custody. The same voice of the streets that once held it down for Chicago was now sitting in a cell. The feds grabbed him near Miami back in October 2024 on murder-for-hire conspiracy charges. They claimed Durk had allegedly organized a hit squad to go after Rondo, revenge for Von's death. But the mission didn't go as planned. Instead of Rondo, the shooters allegedly hit his cousin, Ella Robinson, at a Los Angeles gas station in August 2022. That single mistake flipped everything upside down, and the dominoes just kept falling. Along with Durk, 5 other OTF members got caught in the sweep. Kayvon London, Grant DeAndre, Dontrell Wilson, Keith Jones, David Brian Lindsay, and A.A. Houston, all of them facing major federal charges. The feds didn't play around with this one. They came in heavy. They built the case like OTF was a criminal empire, showing flight records, wire transfers, and even receipts for OTF credit cards being used to fly people out for missions. They painted OTF not as a rap label, but as a mob. And for Dirk, the stakes couldn't be higher. This wasn't a few years on the line. This was life. The voice of the trenches went silent behind federal bars.
So when Lil Tim dropped that cold "get some money" line, it wasn't just random flexing. It was surgical. Every word was designed to hit right where it hurt most. He was basically saying, your boss locked in a cell, and I'm out here stacking cash. That was ultimate disrespect, flipping real pain and federal pressure into public humiliation. That short clip hit harder than any diss record could have dreamed to. It struck right at the pride of both O-Block and OTF, reopening wounds they thought were healed. Tim didn't just taunt them, he challenged them, and the whole culture could feel it. The tension snapped back into focus like the streets had been holding their breath since Von's death, and now it all exploded again. Tim's message was clear, even without saying it outright. Your homies getting hit with Fed cases left and right. Your whole camp falling apart piece by piece, and y'all still online crying about a song? That was the vibe, cold, calculated, and ruthless. And no matter how anyone felt about it, you couldn't deny that shot landed clean. It wasn't just a diss, it was psychological warfare. Within hours, the response from O-Block and their supporters came in fast and furious. YouTube channels lit up with reactions, street-connected voices breaking their silence, and people on camera promising that consequences were coming. The internet went wild, timelines split in two, fans choosing sides, crews picking sides, and the entire hip-hop world split right down the middle. One viral post summed it all up perfectly. O-Block disowns Chief Keef. Now they're mad he's making music with the hottest rapper out right now. That take hit a nerve because it wasn't wrong. You can't throw someone out the family and then expect who they link up with later. That's not loyalty, that's control. And a big part of the hip-hop community actually sided with Sosa this time. Comments were flooding every platform. People saying things like, it's business, not personal. And Chief played it smart, that's why he's free and still breathing. The real ones online started calling out what nobody wanted to admit, the double standard. Because the same people yelling about loyalty were the same ones who had robbed Chief Keef's house, took his straps, and left him hanging when he needed them most. The hypocrisy was wild, almost laughable. Like, how you gonna rob a man, take his weapons, and still act like he owes you loyalty years later? That's not street code, that's straight entitlement. You can't erase someone's legacy, act like they never existed, and then get mad when they move on without you. Sosa didn't betray the block, he outgrew it. And the internet made sure O-Block heard that message loud and clear. Hip-hop media outlets jumped in immediately. Hot New Hip Hop, DJ Academics, and countless blogs were covering every single twist in real time. They pointed out that despite all the online chaos, no actual violence had been confirmed, at least not yet. For now, it was all digital warfare, threats, subtweets, and sneak disses flying back and forth like missiles. Still, you could feel the emotion through the screen. Every post carried the weight of years, decades of tension, betrayal, and pride. This wasn't just social media drama. This was history repeating itself in front of millions. Lines were drawn, sides were picked, the comment sections turned into battlefields. Some fans were shouting, Sosa just doing business, while others were calling him a sellout. Studio sessions became statements, tweets became ammo, and the drill scene once again found itself divided right down the middle. It was bigger than music. It was about respect, legacy, and survival. Chicago versus Baton Rouge energy, O-Block versus outsiders, loyalty versus independence. Every post added another spark. And as the views and streams kept climbing, one thing became clear. This wasn't ending anytime soon. The streets were quiet, but the internet was on fire. The culture was split in two, half of it celebrating Chief Keef's growth and evolution, and the other half demanding blood for what they saw as betrayal. The air was thick with emotion, and even though everything was happening online, everyone knew deep down this was way bigger than the internet, Well, what this whole situation exposed, what it dragged out into the light for the entire world to see, was the ugly contradiction sitting dead center in hip-hop's idea of street loyalty. Because let's be real, Chief Keef left O-Block over a decade ago. He watched from LA as Boss Top allegedly ran up in his house, as King Von reportedly took his straps, and as the same block he put on the map turned their backs on him like he was the enemy. Out west, Chief built a new life, 9 kids, his own label, his own money, and most importantly, peace of mind. He did exactly what everyone in the trenches says they dream about. He made it out.
He survived, got rich, and built something that didn't involve ducking bullets or running from warrants. But now, just because he jumped on a song with the wrong person, the same folks who pushed him out are the ones trying to drag him right back into the mess he escaped from. Make it make sense. And then there's Lul Tim, the man right at the center of this storm, talking about loyalty, talking about what that word means to him and how he stands on it. The irony here is so thick you could cut it with a knife, because O-Block's entire argument is built on that same word, loyalty. Codes and rules about who you can and can't stand next to, who you can and can't work with, who you're allowed to call brother. But look at what those same codes have actually led to. Those rules got Dirk locked up, 5 of his closest guys indicted, and Von buried before he could even reach his full potential. They got the rest of the block online, arguing with strangers, while the feds keep stacking evidence and tightening their grip. The same loyalty they scream about is the same trap keeping them stuck in the same deadly cycle. Loss, jail, revenge, repeat. Those codes aren't keeping anybody safe. They're keeping people stuck. They're not building wealth or healing pain. They're multiplying funerals, mugshots, and broken dreams. Loyalty in the streets isn't rewarded. It's tested until it breaks. So now, whether you see Lil Tim as a menace who walked away from murder, a soldier who stood on business to protect his man Quando, or just a loudmouth who should have logged off and stayed quiet, the truth sits somewhere in the middle. Because at the end of the day, what's really being tested isn't loyalty or fame, it's survival. This whole saga, from Keef's exodus to Von's death to Tim's freedom, shows one brutal reality. The streets don't care who's right or wrong. They just keep score. And every lesson learned comes with a price, paid in time, pain, or blood. One thing's for sure, this whole situation cracked open a truth the game keeps trying to ignore. The same loyalty that everybody claims to live and die for is the exact same loyalty that's been destroying them, slowly, publicly, and one headline at a time. The industry's at a crossroads now, and the lines between music, loyalty, and survival are completely blurred. What started as a simple collab between 2 rap giants, Chief Keef and NBA Youngboy, turned into a cultural earthquake. It shook the streets, the industry, and everyone caught in between. Because here's the real truth. This was never just about music. It was about legacy, ego, and pain, about who's really allowed to evolve and who gets trapped in the past. Keef didn't just drop a verse, he made a statement. He proved that even after 10 years of pressure, betrayal, and silence, he could still move the entire culture with one record. That scared people, especially the ones who built their whole image standing on the foundation he created. For O-Block, it was a pride hit they couldn't hide. Watching the man who started it all work with their biggest enemy felt like betrayal in surround sound. Every lyric, every post, every second of studio footage hit like proof that the old unity was gone for good. But maybe that so-called unity was never real to begin with. Maybe it was just survival, dressed up as loyalty. People standing together only until it was convenient to switch sides. Then you got Lil Tim still moving like he's untouchable, talking wild, taunting, and poking at the hornet's nest over and over. Every time he speaks, the internet lights up and the streets hold their breath. This isn't random trolling anymore. This is strategy. Every word, every video, every post is carefully designed to keep his name hot while keeping the tension alive. And the wildest part? It's working. The attention he's getting proves something huge. In this new digital era, clout hits harder than bullets. Every viral moment turns pain into profit. But underneath all the noise, one heavy question keeps echoing through the culture. Where does loyalty really end? At what point does protecting your peace matter more than protecting your block? Because for every artist who escapes the trenches, there's always a crowd waiting to pull them back down, accusing them of forgetting where they came from. But maybe what they're really mad about isn't betrayal. Maybe it's the fact that someone actually made it out. Chief Keef's story is living proof. From the projects to platinum plaques, from the trenches to total independence. And yet, after all that, he's still judged like he owes the world something. But maybe he doesn't owe anyone anything except the truth. Proof that you can grow without guilt, that you can protect your soul without losing your roots. Right now, the internet is still on fire. Fans arguing, crews posting, blogs milking every angle. But when the smoke clears, one fact remains. Chief Keef showed the world what freedom really looks like, and not everybody can handle it. The blogs are going wild, headlines spinning, timelines exploding, and every rapper with a mic is taking sides. Some are calling Chief Keef a sellout, others calling him a visionary. But one thing's undeniable. Rooms didn't just break the internet, it shattered the illusion that the past could stay buried. And if history tells us anything, this story is far from over. The music might fade, the posts might vanish, but the energy, that mix of legacy, betrayal, and loyalty, it's not dying anytime soon. Because in this world, every move is a message, every collab is a statement, and every silence is a war cry waiting to happen. Whether you see this moment as evolution or betrayal, peace or provocation, one truth always stands above the rest. The streets never forget.
For Chief Keef, for O-Block, for everyone tied to this saga, the next move might not just shift the culture, it might define it forever. His place in the story is locked in, stamped deep into hip-hop history. Chief Keef, the architect of drill, the kid who turned trauma into art, now finds himself in a position nobody would ever want, yet everybody can't stop watching. This isn't just rap beef or chart drama. This is a reflection of something way deeper. It's what happens when loyalty collides with self-preservation, when the hood clashes with the hustle, when grudges outlast the reasons they started in the first place. The cracks this story exposed between loyalty and growth, love and survival, fame and fear, those wounds aren't healing anytime soon. Not while new music keeps dropping every week stirring the pot. Not while federal cases still hang in courtrooms. And definitely not while the internet keeps turning every lyric, every live stream, and every studio moment into another spark ready to ignite. Every new diss, every bar, every headline cuts deeper into old scars that never had the chance to heal. Because in the drill world, the past doesn't die. It hides in the shadows, waiting for the next beat to drop so it can crawl right back into the present. Sosa made it out, but the ghosts of O-Block still chase him in every comment section, every song review, every conspiracy thread. Lil Durk's name still echoes through the system, and Lil Timm's every move still stirs the culture like gasoline on fire. The music might sound different now, more polished, more global, but the pain, the pride, and the paranoia is the same story, just remixed for a new generation. And maybe that's the real tragedy. The way success and survival get treated like sin. How making it out alive somehow turns you into the villain. Chief Keef didn't just change the sound of rap, he changed what making it out really means. But for the ones still trapped in the cycle, every escape looks like abandonment, and every win feels like betrayal. So yeah, Chief Keef's role in all this is permanent. No matter how much time passes or how many hits he drops, his name will always be tied to the birth, the rise, and the unraveling of drill culture as we know it. The movement that shook the world and then turned on itself. And if there's one thing that's certain, the story isn't over. Not even close. The streets are still watching, the fans are still talking, and the tension is still buzzing in every beat from Chicago to Baton Rouge to LA. Thank you for locking in, for real. If you felt this breakdown, make sure to like, share, and drop a comment below. Tell me whose side you think was really right and who just got lost in all the noise. Because the next chapter, it's already being written. And trust me, you won't want to miss it.